I want to walk through a few new Frames v2 concepts. First, we're going to talk through how you can access the new Warpcast developer mode and find the dev tools in your mobile app. We'll talk through how you can set up your Farcaster frame manifest file and an account association, so we can show a verified account association in the app. And then we'll talk over how you can set up a Frames v2 embed. Okay, so let's look at the Warpcast dev tools first. There's a new developer mode in Warpcast. In your app, go to Settings, Advanced, scroll down a bit, and toggle on developer mode. And once that's on, you'll see a new entry in your settings for developer. And we'll be putting all the new developer tools here in the mobile app. So for now, there are two entries here. One is frames. This is the frames playground. You can launch a frame in here, view the demos. We've looked at this in previous demos. You'll also see a new option in here to validate and test your frame embeds. So similar to the embed tester that we have on web right now for Frames v1. There's also a screen in here titled Domains. This will help you generate a domain manifest signature, which is a piece of data that you can put in your app manifest file to verify your ownership of a specific domain and associate that with your Farcaster account. So we'll look at that in just a sec. Let's go back to the frame validator for a sec. So I've already set up a Frame v2 embed in the demo app. You can go look at it, and we'll walk through that in a second. But this works like the existing frame validator. Paste in a URL, which is providing frame meta tags. These are the v2 frame meta tags defined in the frame spec. Tap Preview, and this will render your frame. So we've got a super simple frame for the demo right now, just showing this title in an image and a single button to launch the frame. This image aspect ratio is a little bit up in the air. I think later today we're going to finalize the exact aspect ratios that we're going to support for this v1. So TBD there, but right now we're rendering it in 1:1, but expect that potentially to change. Okay, let's launch this. Cool. So you can see when I launch from this actual frame embed, I have a much nicer title, and I have an attribution in here. It says Farcaster Frames v2 demo up here at the top, and built by horsefacts.eth. So the reason I have this nice title, rather than, you can see if I launch through the tester here, we're just showing the domain. What has enabled this is the fact that I've set up two things, a frame manifest file on my frame application. So this is a JSON file that you serve at a well-known domain from your frame application, so clients can go find it, and that contains some metadata about your application and a signature from the developer to associate that domain with the dev. So that's how we are providing this nice title in here, and we're providing this signed domain association, signed account association. So if you choose to provide this, and I think you should, we'll show this nice title rather than the scary looking unverified domain. Okay, so here's how you can go set this up. Here's how this all works. Let's take a look at the manifest file first. So here it is for the demo app. The demo app is hosted here at framesv2.vercel.app, and you'll host your manifest file at /wellknown/farcaster.json. So root of your fully qualified domain, right? It's okay to have subdomains in here. /.wellknown/farcaster.json. This is like a pretty standard convention for finding these well-known files on certain web domains. And if you look at what's in here, we have this JSON object with two keys. We have this account association with a bunch of base64 stuff in here. And then we have some frame metadata. So this object, this account association, is a signature from your Farcaster custody address over the domain. When you put this association on the domain you control, we can see that you signed, that the domain you put in the signature matches the domain where you've hosted this, and so we can provide a nice verification in the app saying, yes, this FID owns this domain. We're using a sort of customized JWS signature schema in here to sign from your custody address. And the good news is you don't have to go generate this on your own. You can, if you choose to, go look at the spec if you want to. But we're providing a tool in Warpcast where you can just push a button and we'll generate the signature for you so you can copy paste it into your own app. Second thing here is some metadata about your frame, frame version, your frame name, icon and splash URL, the same thing that you provide here in the launch context. We'll read these and set these as global defaults for your frame. And then the home URL of your frame, the entry point to your frame application. So these are all things that live in this manifest right now. We may extend this manifest with more metadata over time, but this is where it is for frames v1. So our goal to get this verification in place is to set up and serve this file from our frames app. Okay, so step one, let's go get this piece of the data, the account association. And we can do that from this new domains page, domain screen in the mobile app. So some instructions here if you need them, or tap to view docs in Notion. But what we want to do here is enter our domain. So in this case, frames-v2.vercel.app. And push this big purple button, generate domain manifest. And that will copy this manifest to your clipboard on the device. So send that back to yourself however you want. You can take a look at that association. Okay, so I sent that copied association from my phone to myself. Let's take a look at what that looks like. We'll just paste it at the top of the file here. Okay, so here's my account association payload data. We've got header, payload, signature. And in the case of this demo app, there are a few ways you can serve this JSON file from a well-known route. Potentially, you can just serve it from a static route if you don't need to do any interpolation or generate it dynamically. You could just put it in your public folder, create a .wellknown directory, serve it from there. You might need to configure the next headers to specify that that's JSON. Alternatively, what I'm doing here is I just have a little API route that's going to return this because I want to dynamically put in the app URL. Many ways you can do this depending on your web framework of choice. So yeah, goal here is let's take this copy-pasted account association. This doesn't change, right? It's just a signature of the domain. So unless your domain changes or your custody address changes, this is not going to change. So you can just put this, basically copy-paste this and put this in your API route or the static file that you're serving just as is. So yeah, you can see here these kind of match up, right? Here's the header, same payload, and same signature. Okay, so that's how to set your account association. There it is in this route, and you'll see we're also just dynamically generating the rest of this JSON file. So grabbing the posted app URL, in this case that would be frames-v2.vercel.app. And then just filling out the rest of our frame metadata here as the second object in this JSON file. So your version, the name of your app, the icon URL, which we'll use once we eventually add these apps and make them discoverable elsewhere, the splash image, splash background, and the home URL, which for us is just the root of the app. Okay, so spin this all up, and let's see, we're running the dev server. Cool, there we go. Okay, so that's how to create your app manifest. Serve this at well-known farcaster.json. This is where Farcaster clients will go look for metadata about your app and a signature that verifies your ownership of this domain and your FID. Okay, that's app associations. Let's also look at frame embeds. So third thing to talk about here is how to set up a new v2 frame embed. So these look really similar to frame v1 tags. It's the same model where we're looking for your frame configuration in a meta tag in the header of your app. In fact, let's go look at one of those right now. So let's load the root of this app. Here's our demo page. And in the meta tags of this app, there it is. We'll see an FC frame tag. Now, unlike frames v1, where we defined all these different attributes as separate meta tags, you'd have to add, 10 or 12 different tags to your app in order to cover them all. We're just using a stringified JSON object in here. So single tag, stringified configuration object. It's a little bit cleaner and easier to parse and read for consuming applications. So this is the new format for frames v2. If we see an FC frame tag with this format in your frames v2 app, we'll know to load it as a v2 frame. You can go see the schema for this content object in the spec. Go take a look at that. But let's walk through how we can set that up in our app. So exact same model as v1 frames. We're going to use whatever tool we want within our web framework to inject meta tags into the header of the page. So in next, here's our home page route, right? Page.tsx. Next provides a bunch of different ways you can do this, but in this case, we're using this generate metadata function, which will insert metadata tags into the head, right? So by default, the title gives you control over these open graph tags, and then we're going to pass other FC frame and our stringified frame embed configuration. So if you built a frames v1 app on top of Next, like exact same model, right? You might have been injecting a bunch of different tags here, right? Like FC frame button 1 and whatever else, FC frame aspect ratio, like all the multiple different tags that we had defined in v1. In v2, just a single tag and a JSON object that includes all the rest of that configuration. Here's what that object looks like, this frame object that we're setting up. So we need a frame version. Right now this is fixed to next until we get to a stable release. Image URL for the frame. So just like frames v1, this is the open graph image that we're going to render in the embed. And then a button object with some sub-configuration. So for now, in this initial dev preview release, frames v2 just have a single button. So you can give it a title, in our case, launch frame, and then define an action. We also have just a single type of action right now, so we anticipate adding some of the actions from frames v1 in the future, so you can have post actions and those similar things. Right now, this simple dev preview of frames v2, we're really focused on the embedded app use case, so the only action you can do right now is launch frame. And you'll see similar attributes to some of those that we have in the global frame metadata, icon, splash image, splash backgrounds. So this will be the URL to load for your frame, the splash image to show for your frame, and the splash background color. And the idea here is that this is a different context, right? So we may load your app eventually from different triggers within the Farcaster client. This is a way to locally define different configuration based on the embed, right? So maybe you want this to go to a different URL than what's defined globally here. So you can specify that URL in the embed. Maybe you want to use a different splash image for whatever reason. You can do that here, different splash background color. So you can sort of locally define at this embed trigger point the different configuration that you want here. Cool. And that's what a v2 embed looks like. Let's walk through it on the live app. So here we go, frames v2 vercel.app. Let's find it in here. Go to the home page. All right, let's take a look at this. Find that meta tag. There it is, FC frame, content, stringified frame configuration. And if you've set this up correctly, when we go in here to this frame embed testing tool, tap preview. And here we go, it's loading this frame from that configuration. So here's the image we specified. You can see it says launch frame. When we launch it here, it will launch with the configuration that we specified there. Okay, final piece of this, also familiar from frames v1, is generating that image for your Open Graph tag, right? So you can see here we're using this app URL Open Graph image path. This is a special route in Next using Next OG, but we could also just use use our own API routes, use whatever route, right? Even use a fixed static image here if we want. But here's what that looks like. We have this Open Graph image TSX inside our app, and within here we can generate the image. So using Next OG, providing a size here. Again, TBD on exactly what the finalized aspect ratios are going to be. So keep up with the spec and watch the channel once we finalize those. And then, yeah, just like you've probably seen with other Frames v1 tools, rendering out a little snippet of React here into a static image. So in this case, we're just using the built-in Next Open Graph tools, but you can do whatever you want here, right? Serve a static image of your own, generate an image on the fly. Use Satori, use Next Open Graph, whatever works for you. Okay, I think, yeah, those are the 3 new components we have in the demo app. So working back once again, you'll see this new Open Graph image route, rendering out the image for the embed. You'll see on the home page, we're now generating this metadata and inserting an FC frame meta tag that specifies the frame configuration. You'll see here we have a route in /wellknown/farcaster.json that's serving our frame manifest file as a farcaster.json static JSON file. This includes some global configuration about our app here under frame. And it includes a signature signed account association between my FID and the domain that I've set up. And then finally, back over here in the mobile app, you can test your embed with the frame embed tool. You can generate your domain manifest and verify your domain here in this domains tester. Oh, I didn't go over this. Let's do this. Once you've set up your manifest file, you can come back in here to test it. So let's enter my domain again. So remember, you do need to push this to your production app, right? So in this case, I've already done this. I've set up this manifest. This is being served. We walked through that in the demo earlier. So you can access this manifest file from this domain. Once that is served, tap this check status button, and this will pull back down and check the status of this association. So here you can see same data that we're serving from that file, and we've decoded the signature down here at the bottom. My FID 3621. The key that I used to sign it, that's my Farcaster custody address, and the signature over my domain. So if you see this big green verified in here, you're good. If you don't see this, we will display some verification error messages in here that can help you debug what's going on with your association. Okay, and then finally, remember that to get access to this developer menu, you want to go into Advanced, toggle on Developer Mode, and yeah, keep watching this developer menu because we'll probably have additional tools coming in the future. All right, that's it. Thanks, everyone.